Thank you very much, Joe. You know what? Dark Passage, they came out. They tried to play aggressive.
They did.
They just didn't really mechanically have it in them. And another next to perfect game for White.
Yeah, but I do want to point out that Holy Phoenix rose from the ashes. He built towards the Trinity Force, and because of this, got 2 kills against Samsung White. So obviously...
Yeah, Monty, what's your take? I mean, Samsung White, again, dominant performance.
Yeah, there's not much to say about that, but if you look at Samsung White, you can see how far ahead they think in the game. There was one moment in the mid lane when the second red buff was coming up at about 7 minutes, when we had Pawn use his ult onto Naru in order to shove him out of lane. Dandy was already there set up. He forced a flash and chunked out Lee Sin, and then they immediately just collapsed on that red buff and started taking objectives away.
Just in general, when you watch replays from either of the Samsung teams, basically whenever they fight, their side lanes will always be in the right position as well. Those minions, it almost seems like they're magically pushing in the right direction, either coming back to them after a fight or just pushing away to them for pressure every time. That just shows you like how far they're thinking ahead, and you can't even analyze that because sometimes it's 2 minutes ahead. They put a small push here, small push there, then they go mid. Obviously in these games, these are more stompy, but in like these really complex, like really close games, that's where the real beauty of thinking ahead shines through, and that's something we're going to try and pay attention more as they progress through the tournament. And
it's cool because I've seen a lot of individual like smart plays as well, specifically from Pawn. He's burning his ultimate not to get kills necessarily, but like in the Talon game, for example, he's just tossing the ult out to just wave clear and get the heck out of the matchup, things like that. And he's just burning important cooldowns because there's nothing better to do anyway. And it just like, I realize it makes sense in retrospect, but it's not something I see a lot of players do.
Yeah, it's revolutionary at this stage in time. The game continues to evolve, continues to improve. Samsung White, slightly obscure question. Do you think being in this group where they have been such heavy favorites and had such confident wins, last year they fell out of groups, Imp himself said we were overconfident. Do you think this could impact them going to quarterfinals, feeling they are even stronger and better than anyone else? You probably know the players better than anybody else, Monty.
Yeah, that's basically White has had an entire year of being mocked in Korea for their performance last year. And of course, Dade kind of the poster child of that. I mean, we still get kind of trash talk videos for champions in OGN where people reference Dade's Gragas. And so that's still the albatross that's hanging around his neck. And the players just going in this year seemed much more focused, really wanting to avenge what happened to them last year. And I don't think that... I would say old Samsung White would have troll picked this game. And instead they picked very, very seriously. And they just trying their hardest, that's for sure.
Doublelift?
I am kind of concerned for Imp's over-aggressiveness because this game was kind of bad example, but I think EDG, their Samsung White's game versus EDG, Imp is super ready to just jump in 1v5, and that's like a good thing because he's such a great playmaker, and sometimes he makes it work. But in those small, rare instances where it doesn't work, he could potentially throw a big lead.
Well, we'll have to see if that does come to pass. Freak?
Yeah. I do think, though, that Samsung White are still going to be scrimming teams, not like Dark Pass, but scrimming the other Korean teams, scrimming the teams in the opposite side of the bracket. And so they still know there's these really good teams like Najin, White Shield, whatnot, that they're going to have to be worried about. So they're not going to sleep through the entire tournament. But yes, as you pointed out, Doublelift, they're got a big tendency to start playing improperly in the middle of a game.
Yeah, we'll see if that does come to pass. Guys, we do have to check in with Shox, who's standing by with one of the winning players.